Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. With the World Cup just around the corner, the interviews is your place for all your World Cup content. And to get things kicked off, we have to start with Russia, the host. Can they win the World Cup? Will they do it? And if so, how will they do it? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to break down Russia's chances of winning the World Cup. With the World Cup just around the corner, we have to start with the host, Russia. Can they win the World Cup? Will they get out of their group? They're very fortunate they have Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Uruguay to kick off Group A. And what's even better for them is that they play Uruguay in the final game, which means they just have to handle their business against Egypt and against Saudi Arabia if they want to move on to the round of 16. Will they do it? We look at the board, 3-5-2 for Russia. They've played it throughout the friendlies. They've switched players throughout, so it's very difficult to kind of figure out who is going to be starting for them in that first game that kicks off the World Cup. But we kind of have somewhat of an idea of who is going to play where. The center backs is still up in the air, but most part everywhere else could be filled by these players. We look up front, you have Smolov, who is probably their best player ahead of Alexei Miranchuk in the front line. You look at midfield, you have Golovin, you have Erikin, and then perhaps you'll have Kuziev or you have Zagoev. Then at wing back, Yuri Zhirkov, who looks to get forward, bomb forward, and provide width. On the other side, they have Samedov, but they do have good replacements that could do the job for them. For Samedov, you have to look at Smolnikov, and then they have Fernandez who could fill in, and then for Zhirkov, they have Roche. What works for them is that they have a team that in this group at least could cause damage to the first few teams if they play their cards right. And you have to look at this and say, how can Russia really get something going? Well, first, their biggest issue is they need to get service to Smolov, who is arguably their best player, and he's the player who looks most reliable around the box. They do have a replacement for him in Shalov, but he is a bit young, and this could be too big of a stage for him. So when you look at Smolov, what does he do right? What does he do well? Well, he's good in the box. He's able to finish chances when they're presented to him. The problem is, how is Russia going to create chances for him? He likes to move into the channels. He likes to get onto the ball there. He likes to break in behind the defense from that aspect. And the other thing is that when you look at this Russian side, you have Miranchuk there, but can he give Smolov what he needs? We've seen him kind of try to drop off, try to move into the channels as well, but he's not much of a number 10, and we don't really know if he can be that reliable goal scorer. He did score a goal in the 3-3 tie against Spain in one of their friendlies, but that just hasn't been enough when these two have played alongside each other. There has been this question as whether Alan Zagoev could play that role in Justin behind him, obviously to add another midfield to the side and to be able to provide that creativity, but Zagoev hasn't really lit things up for Russia like many have expected him to. He was supposed to be the next big thing. That hasn't really worked out. Perhaps a Shalov and a Smolov partnership, we don't know. We haven't seen it in their friendlies yet. Perhaps in the upcoming friendlies leading up to the World Cup, we may see that. For at the moment, we've seen Alexei Miranchuk and we've seen Smolov there, and you're just going to have to figure out how are they going to get service to him. Well, there's one route, and that's down the flanks. We've seen Yuri Zhirkov be a forward-minded or attack-minded wing-back. That's what he's known for. He's obviously, in his earlier days, he was a left-sided midfielder, but he's moved to a wing-back role. He's able to play both, and you're going to need him to get forward. He does play a bit higher when he's there, likes to get crosses into the box, likes to take defenders on 1v1. He pushes back fullbacks. That's what you're going to need. On the other flank, if you have Samedov, he's not really that attack-minded when you have Zhirkov there, but the other option for him is Smolnikov. He is a very good crosser. He likes to get forward as well. You think about one of the goals that they did score against France. It was a Smolnikov cross into the box. Smolov did get onto it. That could be decisive here. If you could get width from both of the wing backs, that is pivotal because the center midfielders are gonna have to do a very big job in that zone, because when you look at the teams that they play, perhaps Egypt may not be the worry, but when you think about Saudi Arabia, Al-Shirawi likes to get into spaces in between the lines. He likes to drop a bit deeper. He's able to pick passes, and they're gonna need to be very compact compact in that midfield ahead of a Russian backline that does drop into a back five when they don't have the ball. So that is going to be key. And then you think about Uruguay when they're going to have to, what they're going to have coming forward to them is Bentancur, who has been great in qualifying leading up to the World Cup, finding spaces, dictating the play from midfield. They're going to need to be very cagey in that zone. And then you have Suarez and Cavani switching off, playing off each other, and that could be an issue for this Russian side. The other thing is that if they do get the wingbacks going forward, when they don't have the ball, they need them to be back in a five because, like I said, you don't want Suarez or Cavani drifting into those channels. You don't want the Saudi Arabian attack, or more importantly, Mo Salah for Egypt, his pace. You don't want him going 1v1 against the center backs. Although they have enough cover there, Salah this season has been in great form, and he could make them pay if they aren't disciplined on both ends of the pitch. So when you think about that, the one question is, who is going to be that next man in midfield? We know Glushakov wasn't chosen to be in the main squad. He is a player that they could call upon if they need an emergency call-up. But you think about it, you have Kuziev, who does offer you, he can play out wide, and he has a bit of a more long-range passing than Zagov, so he can play Smolov into those channels. And the other option is Zagov, obviously, who likes to get forward and could provide those tight-knit passes in between the lines and in tight spaces when Russia will most likely look to break down a Saudi Arabian side that likes to get forward and could leave spaces in behind, or an Egyptian side who does sit deep. When you look at the group and you judge things as a whole, Russia should get out on paper, but it's not that simple. Like we said, Saudi Arabia has the attacking options to cause them a threat if they aren't disciplined without the ball. The only issue with Saudi Arabia is that they struggle to score goals. And then with Egypt, it's kind of the same thing. They're going to look to play on the counterattack. They're going to look to spring Mo Salah. And if Russia makes mistakes at the back, they will pay. However, they have played a lot of better sides, or some of the favorites in terms of France, Argentina, Brazil, Spain in the build-up to this. So they've really focused on being compact without the ball and ensuring that they can keep themselves disciplined and limit spaces between the lines. The midfield bank sits very central, and then you have the defensive line kind of pushing forward, trying to squeeze space in between the lines. If they can do that, and most importantly, get service to Smolov, Russia could make it out of the group. And then what happens after there, who knows, because running up against perhaps a Portugal or a Spain may be too big of an ask. But we've seen wilder things, and as the host nation, anything is possible. But let me know what you guys think. Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget, I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.